Have you guys ever wondered if you actually need a set of steak knives?
Did you say steak?
Yes, I sure did. Many types of steak knives. You have this fine edge version and also a serrated version. I personally like the fine edge version a lot more. Reason being is that it is a much easier knife to upkeep, meaning you can actually sharpen this knife at home versus the serrated version where you actually have to send it into a professional to keep it sharp and keep it, maintained. And then another thing is that a fine edge version has a lot more functions to it outside of just being a steak knife. But we'll talk about that here shortly. The steak knives we're going to be talking about today is by Cangshan Cutlery from the Keller line. Now, quick disclaimer, Cangshan did send me these knives completely free of charge to help them create this set or slash series of functionality videos. Now, let's go back to the question, do you actually need a set of steak knives? Personally, I think that is an absolute yes, especially for those of us like myself who love to eat meat. You definitely need a set of steak knives for it. Just because it's called steak knives, though, doesn't mean you can only cut steak with it. You can cut your chicken, you can cut your pork, you can cut your lamb, you can cut your duck. Name your protein you can cut with a set of steak knives. Now, most of the knives that come with your average set of silverware is basically just an assistant to your fork. Okay, whenever you try to cut into a steak with that super dull knife, it just kind of smushes it and squeezes all of the juice out of it, which is a no-go. Okay, it's like trying to break down a hog with a butter knife. It just all boils down back to my point that I always say, having the right tools for the job. Whenever you take your time to cook that perfect steak, develop that beautiful crust, and cook it to that perfect medium rare, you don't want to use a dull knife to squeeze out of the juices all over the place. Nobody wants that. And that's where a good steak knife comes in, right? It cuts through it perfectly, and you can actually enjoy your steak properly. And then to add to it, it's always good to have a set of presentable knives. Just in case you have to host an event at your house or host a dinner or lunch. And especially with all these big holidays coming up, it just really doesn't hurt to have a set of presentable knives that you can show off to your guests. Let's talk about the functional flexibility of a steak knife. It can double as a 5-inch utility knife, okay, like a fine edge version. It can double as a very big brother to a paring knife because it both has a fine edge, just a little bit of longer blade, and then in a pinch if you need to substitute in for a fillet knife. Okay, now I will have to say the fillet knife does have a little bit more of a nimble tip, but if you have a good set of steak knives, you probably have a good fillet knife as well. So it's just a good, in a pinch you can substitute the steak knife as a fillet knife too. Let me grab some things and let's do a quick demo with the steak knife. Alright, so the first thing we're going to demonstrate is using the steak knife as kind of like a paring knife. So we're going to try to peel this overly ripe pear that we have right here. And as you can see, it's peeling without any issues. And we can just dissect the pear real quick. Sides. As you can see, it's cutting without any issues whatsoever. And then lastly, of course, you cannot do a steak demo or steak knife demo without a steak, right? So let's go ahead and cut into the steak. And of course, it cuts without any issues. Alright guys, so I'm about to go dig into this steak, and I hope you guys like this functionality video of the steak knife by Cangshan Cutlery, part of their Keller line. And if you guys do like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It will mean the world to me to help me support all of this madness, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.